The sun was setting over Neo-Busan, painting the sky orange and red. Tai-Ho Kim wiped his hands on an old rag, looking at the grease stains that never seemed to come out. His small repair shop sat on the edge of the city, where the buildings ended and the empty land began. Most people thought this was a bad place for business. Tai-Ho liked the quiet. He had spent the day fixing a cargo ship's engine. The work was hard, but he enjoyed solving problems with his hands. His tools were old but well cared for. His workshop was small but clean. Everything had its place. "Tai-Ho, I'm going home now," called Hyejin Park from across the shop. She was his assistant, a young woman who learned fast and worked hard. "The fuel pump is ready for pickup tomorrow." "Good work today," Tai-Ho replied. "Get some rest." Hyejin waved goodbye and walked toward the city. Tai-Ho watched her go, then turned back to his work. He liked these quiet moments at the end of the day. The shop felt peaceful when the noise of engines stopped. He was putting his tools away when the ground shook. At first he thought it was a heavy truck on the road. But the shaking came again, stronger this time. The tools on his workbench rattled. A wrench fell to the floor with a loud clang. Tai-Ho stepped outside and looked around. The road was empty. No trucks, no ships landing nearby. But the ground shook again, and this time he heard something else. Footsteps. Very big footsteps. Something moved in the distance. At first it looked like a hill walking toward him. But as it came closer, Tai-Ho could see what it really was. A dragon. The creature was huge, bigger than any building in Neo-Busan. Its scales shone like metal in the evening light. Each step made the ground shake. Its head was the size of a small ship, and its eyes glowed with a soft blue light. Most people would have run. Most people would have screamed. But Tai-Ho had seen many strange things in his years fixing spaceships. He had learned that running from problems rarely solved them. The dragon stopped about 50 meters from the shop. It lowered its massive head and looked at Tai-Ho with those glowing blue eyes. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then the dragon spoke. "Excuse me," it said in careful Korean. Its voice was deep like thunder, but gentle. "I am sorry to bother you." Tai-Ho blinked. In all his years, he had never heard a dragon speak. He had heard they were smart, but this was different. This dragon was polite. "You are not bothering me," Tai-Ho said. He kept his voice calm, the same way he talked to nervous customers. "What do you need?" The dragon looked at the pile of scrap metal behind the shop. Old engine parts, broken hull pieces, twisted metal from crashed ships. To most people, it was just junk. "May I have leftovers, sir?" the dragon asked. "I do not wish to take without asking." Tai-Ho followed the dragon's gaze to the scrap pile. He had collected that metal over many years. Some pieces were rare alloys, some were common steel. All of it was broken or worn out. "You want the scrap metal?" Tai-Ho asked. The dragon nodded its huge head. "Yes, please, if you do not need it." Tai-Ho looked more carefully at the dragon. Its scales were not perfect like they seemed from far away. Up close, he could see patches where the scales were dull or cracked. Some areas looked like they had been repaired with different metals. The dragon was hurt, or sick, or both. "Are you hungry?" Tai-Ho asked. "I am." "Trying to heal," the dragon said slowly. "My people, we eat metals to grow strong. But the metals here are different from home. They do not help much." Tai-Ho understood. He had worked with aliens before. Different species needed different things to survive. Some breathed different gases. Some ate strange foods. This dragon ate metal, like humans ate rice. "Take what you need," Tai-Ho said. "I have more than I can use." The dragon's eyes widened. "You are sure? It is valuable, yes?" "Scrap metal is not very valuable," Tai-Ho said. "And you asked politely. That is worth something." The dragon made a sound that might have been laughter. My mother taught me to always ask before taking. She said rude dragons make enemies. Polite dragons make friends. Your mother sounds wise, Taeho said. The dragon moved toward the scrap pile very carefully. Its huge claws could have crushed Taeho without trying, but it stepped gently around the workshop. It picked up pieces of metal and examined them closely, like a customer choosing vegetables at a market. This one has good iron, the dragon said, holding up a twisted piece of hull plating. And this one? What is this metal? Titanium, Taeho said. From a racing ship engine, the dragon's eyes lit up. Titanium is very good for healing, very hard to find where I come from. It bit into the metal like a human might bite an apple. The titanium crunched between its teeth. The dragon closed its eyes and made a happy humming sound. Much better, it said. Thank you, sir. This is very kind. Taeho watched the dragon eat. He had seen many strange things, but this was new. The dragon chewed slowly, enjoying each bite. Some of the dull patches on its scales already looked a little brighter. What is your name? Taeho asked. I do not have a name in your language yet, the dragon said. My real name is very hard for humans to say. Too many sounds you cannot make. Would you like a Korean name? The dragon thought about this. That would be nice. What name do you suggest? Taeho considered. The dragon was polite and thoughtful. It asked for permission instead of taking. It reminded him of his grandfather, who always said please and thank you. How about Yun-ah? Taeho suggested. It means allowing wishes or granting permission. The dragon tested the name. Yun-ah, yes, I like this. It sounds gentle. I am Taeho Kim, Taeho said. Mr. Taeho, Yun-ah said carefully, thank you for sharing your leftovers. Thank you for giving me a name. You are very kind to a stranger. The dragon finished eating several pieces of scrap metal. Already its scales looked healthier. The cracks were smaller. The dull patches had more shine. I should go now, Yun-ah said. I do not want to cause trouble for you. You are welcome to come back, Taeho said. I get new scrap metal often. Most of it just sits there. Yun-ah's eyes went wide again. You would allow this? Of course. But next time, maybe you could tell me about these metals you need. I might be able to help you find better ones. The dragon looked at Taeho for a long moment. In those blue eyes, Taeho saw something he recognized. Hope. The same look customers had when he told them their ship could be fixed. I would like that very much, Yun-ah said. Until next time, Mr. Taeho. The dragon turned and walked away into the growing darkness. Each step shook the ground a little less. Soon it disappeared into the night. Taeho stood in front of his shop for a long time, thinking. He had just made an unusual friend. Tomorrow would be interesting. The next morning brought trouble. Taeho was opening his shop when he saw the police car coming down the road. Sheriff Dongwoo Lee got out looking serious. Behind him came 3 more cars full of people. Word had traveled fast through Neo-Busan. Taeho, Dongwoo said, walking up to the shop. We need to talk. Good morning to you too, Taeho replied. He continued setting up his tools like any other day. People are saying you had a dragon here last night, a big one. People say many things, Taeho said. Most of them are true. Dongwoo sighed. He had known Taeho for many years. The mechanic never lied, but he also never made things easy. Was there a dragon here or not? Yes. And you just talked to it? We had a nice conversation. The crowd behind Dongwoo was getting bigger. More cars had arrived. People pointed at the huge footprints in the dirt. Some looked excited. Some looked scared. Taeho, this is serious, Dongwoo said. Dragons are dangerous. We need to call the military. Why? Because it's a dragon. They're huge. They breathe fire. This one did not breathe fire. He was very polite. He said, please, and thank you. Dongwu stared at him. His name is Yun-Ah. He likes titanium. Before Dongwu could answer, the ground started shaking again. The crowd went quiet. Cars stopped arriving. Everyone looked toward the empty land beyond the shop. Yun-Ah was coming back. "Everyone stay calm," Dongwu said, reaching for his radio. "Put that away," Taeho said firmly. "You will scare him." "Scare him? He's the size of a building." "He is. Also very shy." Yuna approached slowly, seeing all the people. His huge head turned left and right, looking at the cars and the crowd. He stopped much further away than yesterday. "Mr. Taeho," Yuna called out. His voice carried easily across the distance. "Are these people your friends?" "Some of them," Taeho replied. "They came to meet you." Yuna looked nervous. "I do not wish to cause problems. Should I leave?" Taeho walked toward the dragon. The crowd gasped, but he kept walking until he stood near Yuna's massive front claw. "You are not causing problems," Taeho said. "People are curious. That is normal. In my experience, curious people sometimes become angry people. Not if we are honest with them." Taeho turned back toward the crowd. Dongwu was standing with his hand on his gun, but he had not drawn it. That was good. "Sheriff Lee," Taeho called. "Come and meet Yuna." "Are you crazy?" someone in the crowd shouted. "Probably," Taeho admitted. "But I have been crazy for many years, and it has worked out well." Dongwu looked at Yuna, then at Taeho, then at the crowd behind him. He had a choice to make. He could follow the rules and call for help, or he could trust his old friend. He walked forward. Yuna watched him approach. The dragon lowered his head closer to the ground, making himself seem smaller and less threatening. "Hello," Dongwu said when he was close. "Enough." His voice was shaky. "Hello, Sheriff Lee," Yuna replied. "Mr. Taeho has told me about you. He says you keep people safe." "I try to," Dongwu said. He was surprised the dragon knew his title. Are you going to hurt anyone?" "I hope not," Yuna said seriously. "I am very careful with small creatures. My mother taught me to watch where I step." "Your mother?" "She is very wise. She says big dragons must be extra gentle, or they make accidents." Dongwu looked at Taeho. "He really is polite." "I told you so." Yuna turned his attention back to the scrap pile. "Mr. Taeho, may I continue eating? I am still quite hungry." "Of course. Take what you need." The dragon began sorting through the metal pieces. He picked up each one carefully, examined it, and either ate it or set it aside. He worked with the focus of a craftsman. "What are you looking for?" Taeho asked. "Metals with the right, how do you say, tiny parts inside," Yuna said. "Some metals help dragons heal, some do not. I must be careful to choose correctly." "You mean the molecular structure?" Yuna's eyes widened. "Yes. You understand this?" "I work with metals every day. Different alloys have different properties." "This is very interesting," Yuna said. "What can you tell me about this piece?" He held up a chunk of hull plating that had been damaged in a crash. Taeho examined it closely. "This is a titanium steel composite," Taeho said. "Very strong, but it becomes brittle when it gets too hot. That is why it cracked." "Titanium is good for scales," Yuna said, "but steel is hard to digest. Can these metals be separated?" "With the right tools, yes." Yuna set the piece down very gently. "Mr. Taeho, would you be willing to help me separate metals? I can pay you." "What kind of payment?" Yuna thought for a moment. Then he reached behind one of his scales and pulled out a small piece of metal that glowed with soft blue light. "This is dragon scale metal," Yuna said. "Very rare, very strong. We use it to build our ships." Taeho took the piece. It was warm, to the touch and lighter than it should have been for its size. The blue glow came from inside the metal itself. "This is amazing," Taeho breathed. What gives it the glow? Quantum particles, Yuna said. They make the metal remember its shape. If it breaks, it tries to fix itself. Dongwu came closer to look. The crowd behind him was getting braver, moving forward to see what was happening. You are saying, this metal can repair itself? Dongwu asked. Yes, but slowly. It needs the right energy. That is why we eat other metals. To give our scales power to heal. Taeho understood. Your scales are not just armor. They are living metal. Very good, Mr. Taeho. You learn quickly. And your people, you are not just animals. You are engineers. My people have traveled the stars for many thousands of years, Yuna said proudly. We build ships from our own bodies. We navigate by feeling magnetic fields. We are... He paused, looking for the right words. We are what you might call living spaceships. The crowd had grown quiet, listening to every word. This was not what anyone had expected. They had come to see a monster. Instead, they found a teacher. Why? Are you here on Earth? Dongwu asked. Yuna's expression became sad. Our home star is dying. Many of us are sick. We came here looking for metals to heal ourselves. Are there more of you? Yes. But they are hiding. They are afraid humans. We'll try to hurt them. Taeho looked at the dragon scale metal in his hands, then at Yuna, then at the crowd of people watching. What if we could help each other? Taeho said. You need metals. We have metals. You have knowledge. We like to learn. You would do this? Yuna asked. Even though we are strangers? You are not strangers anymore, Taeho said. You are neighbors. Yuna looked at Dongwu. What do you think, Sheriff Lee? Would your people accept dragon neighbors? Dongwu looked back at the crowd. They were no longer afraid. They were curious, excited, even hopeful. This was the kind of story that could change everything. I think, Dongwu said slowly, we are going to need a bigger workshop. 3 days later, everything had changed. Taeho's small repair shop had become the most famous place in Neo-Busan. Scientists came from other cities to study Yun-Ah. News reporters wanted interviews. Children begged their parents to take them, to see the friendly dragon. But the most important visitor came on the 4th day. Dr. Sunmi Choi stepped out of her research vehicle, carrying equipment that looked too heavy for her small frame. She was a xenobiologist, a person who studied alien life. She had studied many strange creatures, but never a dragon. Mr. Kim, she said, walking up to Taeho. I am Dr. Choi from the Galactic Research Institute. May I speak with your dragon friend? He is not my dragon, Taeho said. He is his own dragon. But you can ask him yourself. Yuna was working beside Taeho's shop, using tools that Taeho had made bigger for dragon claws. He was carefully separating different metals from a pile of scrap parts. His work was precise and careful. Good morning, Yuna, Dr. Choi said. Good morning, Dr. Choi, Yuna replied without looking up from his work. Mr. Taeho told me you might visit. You know who I am? I know you study living things. I am a living thing. It makes sense. Dr. Choi smiled. She liked creatures that could think logically. I was hoping you could answer some questions about your people. I will answer what I can. But I am just one dragon. I do not speak for all dragons. Of course. Can you tell me about your home? Yuna paused in his work. His expression became distant, like he was remembering something far away. Our home star was old when your people were still learning to make fire, he said. We built cities in space around it. Beautiful cities with gardens and schools and art. We were happy. What happened? Stars do not live forever. Ours began to die. The light changed. Our food plants stopped growing. The quantum fields that power our scales grew weak. Dr. Choi was taking notes quickly. This was the first time any human had heard about dragon civilization. How many of you are there? Fewer every year. Many died when the star began failing. Others became too weak to travel. Those of us who could still fly came to look for a new home. Are there others here on Earth? Yuna looked at Tai-Ho, then back at Dr. Choi. Yes, but they are afraid to show themselves. They remember bad stories about humans. What kind of bad stories? Stories about humans who shoot first and ask questions later. Stories about humans who see big creatures and think monster instead of neighbor. Dr. Choi felt sad hearing this. She knew the stories were probably true. Humans did not always welcome strangers well. What would it take to convince them that some humans are different? Before Yuna could answer, they heard a new sound, a different kind of footsteps. Smaller than Yuna's, but still very large. Something else was coming. Yuna looked up sharply. Wu Jin? What are you doing here? A smaller dragon appeared from behind a hill. It was still huge compared to humans, but tiny compared to Yun-Ah. Its scales were brighter, more colorful. It moved with the quick energy of youth. Papa! The young dragon called in Korean. I was worried about you. Papa? Dr. Choi looked at Tai-Ho with wide eyes. This is my son, Wu Jin, Yun-Ah said. Wu Jin, these are my new friends, Mr. Tai-Ho and Dr. Choi. Wu Jin approached cautiously, staying close to his father. He looked at the humans with bright, curious eyes. They are very small, Wu Jin said in careful Korean. But they do not smell afraid. Fear has a smell? Dr. Choi asked. Oh yes, Yuna said. Very strong smell, sharp and bitter, but you humans smell like curiosity and kindness. It is much more pleasant. Wu Jin crept closer to examine Tai-Ho's tools. Everything was so much smaller than dragon-sized equipment. How do you make things with such tiny tools? Wu Jin asked. We make tiny things, Tai-Ho said. Would you like to see? Wu Jin nodded eagerly. Tai-Ho picked up a small circuit board and showed the young dragon how the tiny parts connected together. This controls the fuel flow in a ship engine, Tai-Ho explained. So small, Wu Jin marveled. Dragon circuits are much bigger, but this is very clever. Different sizes for different jobs, Tai-Ho said. What do dragon circuits look like? Yun-Ah. And Wu Jin exchanged glances. Then Yuna reached behind his neck scales and pulled out something that made Dr. Choi gasp. It looked like a living piece of metal, about the size of Tai-Ho's hand. It pulsed with soft blue light and seemed to move slightly like it was breathing. This is a dragon circuit, Yuna said. It grows instead of being built. It's alive? Dr. Choi asked. Partly. It connects to our nervous system. We think what we want the circuit to do, and it does it. You control your technology with your thoughts? Is this strange? How else would you control it? Tai-Ho and Dr. Choi looked at each other. Human technology required buttons, switches, keyboards, voice commands. The idea of thinking at a machine was amazing. Could you teach us how this works? Dr. Choi asked. Maybe, Yuna said. But it would be very hard. Your brains are different from dragon brains. Papa, Wu Jin said softly. Are we going to stay here? I do not know yet, Yuna replied. What do you think? I like it here. The metal tastes good. And the small people are interesting. The small people have names, Yuna corrected gently. Mr. Tai-Ho, Dr. Choi. Sorry. Mr. Tai-Ho, Dr. Choi, you are very interesting, small people. Tai-Ho laughed. You are very interesting. Large people too, Wu Jin. The young dragon made a happy rumbling sound. Then he noticed something behind the shop. Papa, what is that? He was pointing at Tai-Ho's old welding setup. Sparks were flying as Tai-Ho had been working on a ship part earlier. That is how humans join metals together, Yuna explained. They use fire, like we do. Similar but different. Wu Jin watched the sparks with fascination. Can I try? Tae-ho looked at the young dragon. The tools are too small for your claws, but maybe we can make bigger ones. Really? Really? Would you like to learn human metalworking? Wu Jin looked at his father with pleading eyes. Yuna considered carefully. If Mr. Tae-ho is willing to teach, and you promise to be very careful, then yes. Wu Jin made an excited squeaking noise that sounded like a gigantic mouse. He began asking rapid questions about welding, cutting, and shaping metal. Tae-ho answered each one patiently, sometimes showing examples with his small tools. Dr. Choi watched this exchange with wonder. She was seeing something that had never happened before. A human teaching technology to a dragon, and a dragon eager to learn. It was not conquest or submission. It was partnership. Yuna, she said quietly, would your people be interested in more partnerships like this? Some would, Yuna said, but they would need to see that it works first. They would need to trust that humans see us as friends, not enemies. How can we show them that? Yuna looked at his son, who was now trying to hold a tiny wrench in his enormous claw while Tae-ho showed him how to tighten a bolt. I think, Yuna said slowly, they would need to see what I see here, humans and dragons working together, learning from each other, building something new. What kind of something? I do not know yet, but I think it will be wonderful. Dr. Choi looked around at the scene, a dragon father watching his son learn from a human mechanic, while that same human learned about living metal from the dragon. It was messy and strange and beautiful. I think you are right, she said. This is definitely going to be wonderful. The morning everything changed started like any other morning. Tae-ho was teaching Wu Jin how to use a metal grinder when the sky darkened. At first it looked like clouds. Then the shapes became clearer. 5 enormous forms flying toward Neo-Busan. Their wings blocking out the sun. Dragons, much larger than Yuna. Oh no, Yuna whispered. Mother is coming. Is that bad? Tae-ho asked. Mother does not trust easily, and she is very protective. The dragons landed in the empty field beyond the shop. The ground shook like an earthquake. The largest dragon, with scales that looked like silver and gold, walked forward. Her head was even bigger than Yuna's, and her eyes glowed like stars. Yuna! She called in a voice like rolling thunder. Come here, now! Yuna walked toward his mother slowly. Hello, Mother. These are my friends I told you about. Friends? The elder dragon looked at Tae-ho with suspicion. You told small creatures about our weakness, about our need for metals? I told friends about our situation. There is a difference. The elder dragon, Dal Neem, examined Tae-ho like he was an interesting insect. You are the human who feeds my son? I share metal with Yun-ah, Tae-ho said carefully. He asked politely, and what do you want in return? Nothing. Dal Neem's eyes narrowed. Nothing? Humans always want something. Some humans do. Not all. Humans. Before Dal Neem could respond, cars started arriving. Sheriff Dongwu was first, followed by Dr. Choi. Then came a black government car that Tae-ho had never seen before. A man in an expensive suit got out of the government car. He looked important and not very happy. I am Colonial Administrator, Kyung-ho Nam, the man announced loudly. And this situation has gone too far. What situation? Tae-ho asked. Aliens on Earth without permission. Unauthorized first contact. Sharing of technology without government approval. Administrator Nam read from a tablet. You are in violation of 17 different laws. I gave a hungry neighbor some scrap metal, Tae-ho said. Which law covers that? Dal Neem made a sound, like laughter, but not friendly laughter. So, the human government claims ownership of our bodies now? We claim authority over what happens on Earth, Administrator Nam said, and we cannot allow a colony of dangerous aliens to establish itself. Here, colony? Dalnim raised her head higher. We are not colonists. We are refugees. The difference being, colonists take what they want. Refugees ask for help. Dr. Choi stepped forward. Administrator Nam, with respect, these dragons are not dangerous. They are highly intelligent and peaceful. Peaceful? Look at them. They are weapons with wings. Young Wu Jin had been hiding behind his father, but now he moved closer to Tae-ho. Mr. Tae-ho, why is the small, angry human shouting? He is scared, Tae-ho said gently. Scared people often shout. But we are not scary. We are nice. I know that. But he does not know that yet. Administrator Nam heard this exchange and his face turned red. It talks to children. This is exactly what I was worried about. His name is Wu Jin, Tae-ho said firmly, and he is a child himself. A very polite one. I do not care what it calls itself. I care about Earth's security. Dalnim had heard enough. She lowered her massive head until it was level with Administrator Nam. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but dangerous. Small human, you speak of security. But what threatens your security? We have been here for days. Have we harmed anyone? Have we taken anything without asking? Have we attacked your cities? Administrator Nam took a step back. Not yet. But, you judge us by our size, not our actions. You are predators. Look at those teeth. Yes, I am a predator. Dalnim showed her teeth, each one longer than Administrator Nam's arm. I can break mountains. I can melt steel with my breath. I can fly faster than your fastest ships. Administrator Nam was now very pale. But, Dalnim continued, I am also a mother, a teacher, a builder of beautiful things. I love poetry and mathematics and the way starlight looks on still water. Which of these things defines me? I don't. You see only what you fear. That is why your species often makes enemies when you could make friends. Another car arrived. This one brought Jae-sung, Tae-ho's younger brother. He was a politician, someone who knew how to talk to people like Administrator Nam. Brother, Jae-sung said, walking up to Tae-ho, you have been busy. Just fixing things, like always. Jae-sung looked at the dragons, then at Administrator Nam, then at the growing crowd of people watching from a safe distance. Administrator Nam, Jae-sung said politely, what exactly is the problem here? The problem is unauthorized alien contact. I see. And what harm has this contact caused? Well, it could cause harm, but has it? Administrator Nam struggled to find an answer. The truth was that nothing bad had happened. The dragons had been polite and helpful. The humans had learned amazing things. Even the children in the crowd were not afraid anymore. That is not the point, Administrator Nam said finally. The point is proper procedure. Dalnim made that dangerous laughing sound again. Procedures! Your species loves procedures. Tell me, small human, do your procedures help dying children? Do they feed the hungry? Do they heal the sick? That is not. We have systems for... We are dying, Dalnim said simply. Our star is dead. Our children grow weaker every day. We came here hoping for kindness, and you offer us procedures. The crowd had grown silent. Even Administrator Nam seemed to understand the weight of what Dalnim was saying. Jae-sung saw his chance. What if we could find a way to help that follows? Procedures? A way that makes everyone feel safe? What do you mean? Dr. Choi asked. I mean official cooperation, a formal agreement between dragons and humans, trade partnership, cultural exchange, shared technology development. Administrator Nam looked interested despite himself. You are talking about a treaty? I am talking about a business deal. Dragons have advanced technology. Humans have resources. Both species benefit. Dalnim looked at her son, then at Tae-ho, then at the other dragons who had come with her. What would this deal require? She asked. Dragons share some technology with human scientists. Humans provide metals and a place to live while you heal. Everyone wins. And if we refuse, Administrator Nam started to speak, but Jae-sung cut him off. Then you leave in peace. No one forces anyone to do anything. Taeho watched his brother work. Jae-sung was good at finding solutions that let everyone save face. But would it work with dragons? Dal-Neem considered for a long moment. You would. Trust us enough to give us materials to grow strong again? Some of us would, Jae-sung said. If you trust us enough to share knowledge that could change our world. And how do we know this trust goes both ways? Taeho stepped forward. By starting small. By working together on one project and seeing what happens. What kind of project? Taeho looked at Yuna, who had been unusually quiet during all this discussion. Yuna has been teaching me about living metal. I have been teaching him about human engineering. What if we build something together? Something that shows what dragons and humans can create when we cooperate? Dal-Neem looked at her son. What do you think, Yuna? I think Mr. Taeho is the wisest small person I have ever met, Yuna said. If he believes this can work, then I believe it too. And you, small politician? Dal-Neem asked Jae-sung. Can you promise that other humans will honor such an agreement? I can promise to try very hard to make it happen. Dal-Neem looked around at all the humans watching. Some looked scared, some looked excited, some looked hopeful. Very well. She said finally. We will try this cooperation. But if humans prove false, we will leave and never return. Fair enough, Jae-sung said. Administrator Nam did not look happy, but he nodded. I will need to report this to higher authorities. You do that, Dal-Neem said. In the meantime, we will be building something wonderful with our new friends. She looked at Taeho. Human Taeho, show us what dragons and humans can create together. 2 weeks later, Taeho's small repair shop had become something nobody had ever seen before. Dragons and humans worked side by side, building tools too big for humans and too precise for dragons alone. The project had started simple. Let us build one perfect engine, Yuna had suggested. One that shows what our peoples can do together. Now the engine was nearly finished, and it was beautiful. The main body was made from dragon-scale metal that pulsed with soft blue light. Human circuits controlled the fuel flow with impossible precision. Dragon living metal veins carried power throughout the system. Human engineering kept everything balanced and stable. But the real magic happened in the evenings. Bo-Ra, Taeho, called to his wife as she arrived with dinner. Look what Seung-Wan made today. Seung-Wan was a young dragon, smaller than Yuna, but older than Woo-Jin. She had become fascinated with human art. While the others worked on engines, she created sculptures from scrap metal. Today's sculpture was amazing. Twisted pieces of hull plating had been shaped into the form of a bird with wings spread wide. But it was not just art. It was functional art. The bird's wings were actually antennae for receiving signals from space. This is beautiful, Bo-Ra said, walking closer to examine Seung-Wan's work. How did you make the metal flow like water? Dragon fire is very hot, Seung-Wan explained. Much hotter than human welding. Metal becomes soft like clay. Bo-Ra had been coming to the shop every evening, bringing food for the humans and specially prepared metals for the dragons. She had learned to cook metals the way she cooked food, with care for taste and nutrition. Tonight she had brought something special. I made titanium soup, she announced, setting down a large pot. With copper seasoning and iron garnish. Tape. Dragons made happy humming sounds. Bo-Ra's metal cooking was famous among them now. She had learned that different dragons liked different flavors of metal, just like humans liked different spices. Mrs. Bo-Ra, Woo-Jin said politely, did you remember to add zinc? It helps young dragons grow strong scales. Of course I remembered. And I added a little chromium for shine. Woo-Jin clapped his claws together excitedly. He had grown noticeably in the past 2 weeks. and his scales were brighter than ever. While the dragons enjoyed their dinner, Taeho's father, Changmin, arrived. The old man had been suspicious of dragons at first, but that had changed quickly. Dal Nim, Changmin called to the elder dragon. Are you ready for tonight's story? Always ready, old warrior. Changmin and Dalnim had discovered they both had many stories about long journeys and difficult times. Every evening they shared tales of their adventures. Tonight was Changmin's turn. This is a story about the war on Kepler Station, Changmin began, settling onto a comfortable rock. I was young and foolish, and I thought I knew everything. The dragons gathered around to listen. Human children from the nearby town had started coming too with their parents' permission. Soon there was a circle of dragons and humans, all listening to Changmin's tale of courage and friendship in dangerous places. Dr. Choi sat at the edge of the circle, taking notes. She was writing a book about dragon culture, but she found herself learning as much about humans as about dragons. Watching the two species interact was teaching her things about cooperation that no textbook could explain. When Changmin finished his story, young Wu Jin raised his claw. Mr. Changmin, in your war, did humans and dragons fight together? There were no dragons in that war, little one. Just humans. That is sad. Dragons would have made the war shorter. How? Dragons are very big and very fast. We could have carried human soldiers quickly to safe places. Changmin thought about this. You know, you are right. That would have saved many lives. Dalnim nodded. This is why cooperation is better than fighting. Each species has gifts that help the others. What gifts do humans have? Asked Seung-wan. Taeho looked around at the mixed group of dragons and humans, all working together on projects that neither species could complete alone. Humans are good at small, detailed work, he said. And we are good at solving problems in creative ways. What about dragons? Asked a human child. Dragons are strong and wise, Taeho replied, and they understand big ideas that take a long time to complete. Like traveling between stars, Yoon-ah added. Humans think in years or decades. Dragons think in centuries. That is why this partnership works, Dalnim said. Humans help us with immediate problems. Dragons help humans with long-term goals. The evening was getting darker, but nobody wanted to leave. These gatherings had become the best part of everyone's day. Bora stood up and clapped her hands. Before everyone goes home, I have an announcement. Everyone turned to look at her. Next week is the Mid-Autumn Festival, she said. I want to hold a special dinner, a feast that celebrates both human and dragon traditions. What kind of feast? Seung-wan asked. Food for humans, medals for dragons, and art that both species can enjoy together. The dragons made excited rumbling sounds. Human festivals were still new to them, but they loved the idea of celebration. I will create special sculptures for the occasion, Seung-wan volunteered. And I will tell the story of how dragons learned to fly between stars, Dalnim added. I will cook my grandmother's recipe for mooncakes, said one of the human children. But I will also try to make mooncakes from pretty medals for the dragons. Soon everyone was volunteering to contribute something to the feast. Humans offered traditional foods and decorations. Dragons offered stories and songs and examples of their art. Taeho watched this planning and felt something warm in his chest. A few weeks ago, these two species had been strangers. Now they were planning a party together. Bora, he said to his wife. This was a wonderful idea. It was not my idea alone, she replied. I have been watching everyone work together, and I realized something important. What? When people share food, they become family. When they share festivals, they become one people. Dalnim had been listening to this conversation. Mrs. Bora, that is very wise. On my world, we had a saying. The table that welcomes all hearts holds the greatest feast. I like that saying, Bo-Ra said. May I use it for our festival? It would honor me greatly. As the evening ended and everyone prepared to go home, Taeho found himself standing with Yuna, looking at their almost finished engine. My friend, Yuna said quietly, when we started this project, I thought we were just building an engine. What do you think we are building now? Something much more important. We are building proof that different peoples can become one people, without losing what makes them special. Is that a good thing? I think, Yuna said, watching human children playing with young dragons in the evening light. It might be the most important thing anyone has ever built. Taeho nodded. Tomorrow, they would finish the engine. But tonight, they had built something even better. They had built hope. 6 months had passed since Yuna first asked for leftovers, and Taeho barely recognized his own workshop. The small repair shop had grown into something that needed a new name. The sign out front now read, Human Dragon Engineering Cooperative, in both Korean and Dragon script. The building itself was a marvel, part traditional workshop, part dragon-scale architecture with sections sized for both species. Taeho stood in the main work area, watching something that still amazed him every day. A human girl named So Young, barely 10 years old, was riding on Seungwan's back while they both worked on installing navigation circuits in a new type of hybrid spacecraft. A little to the left, So Young called out, directing Seungwan's massive claws as they positioned a delicate sensor array. Like this? Seungwan asked, moving with surprising precision. Perfect. Now hold it steady while I connect the wires. The little girl worked with tools that had been specially made for human-dragon cooperation projects. She could reach small spaces that dragon claws could not access, while Seungwan provided the strength and stability needed for heavy work. Their project was revolutionary, a ship that could be piloted by either humans or dragons, with controls that responded to both hands and thoughts. It was the kind of technology that neither species could have developed alone. Mr. Taeho, Woo Jin called from across the workshop, come see what we finished. Woo Jin had grown significantly in 6 months. His scales now gleamed with perfect health, and he had learned to speak Korean as well as any human child. He was working with a team of human teenagers on what they called impossible machines, devices that combined the best of both technologies. Today's creation was a robot that could repair itself. It used dragon living metal technology to heal damage, but human programming to make smart decisions about what repairs to make. This is excellent work, Taeho said, examining the robot. Have you tested it yet? Watch this, said Minho, one of the human teenagers. He picked up a hammer and dented the robot's arm. Immediately, the dented area began to glow with soft blue light. The metal flowed like liquid, reshaping itself until the arm was perfect again. The repair took only 30 seconds, Woo Jin said, proudly. And the robot learned from the damage, so now it is stronger in that spot. Amazing. What will you build next? We want to try making a garden that can grow in space, Minho said, using dragon biometal for the plants and human hydroponics for the nutrients. Taeho smiled. The young ones always had the most ambitious ideas, and surprisingly often, those ideas actually worked. A shadow fell across the workshop as Dal Neem landed outside. She visited regularly now, bringing news from other dragon families and helping with the more difficult engineering problems. Good morning, Elder Dalnim, Taeho called. Good morning, Master Engineer Taeho. Dalnim had started using formal titles as a sign of respect. Taeho was now recognized as the first human to achieve master level in dragon engineering techniques. Bring news, Dalnim announced. 3 more dragon families have asked to join our cooperation. This was becoming common. Dragons across the galaxy had heard about the success on Earth. Many wanted to experience this new kind of partnership for themselves. What will they need? Taeho asked. The usual. Workspace, metal supplies, and patience while they learn to trust humans. We have space in the new expansion. and Bo-Ra has been experimenting with feeding larger groups. Bo-Ra had become famous throughout the dragon community for her metal cooking. She had written a cookbook called Metals for Dragons, A Human's Guide to Interspecies Nutrition. It was the first book of its kind, and dragons traded rare alloys to get copies. "There is one more thing," Dalnim said. "A new visitor is coming." "Another dragon family?" "No, a different species entirely." Tai-Ho looked up sharply. "What kind of species?" "We call them the Singers. They communicate through music and build their technology from crystallized sound. They heard about our cooperation here and want to see if humans might work with them too." Tai-Ho felt a familiar excitement. It was the same feeling he had experienced when Yuna first approached his shop. The thrill of meeting someone completely new and discovering what they might build together. "When will they arrive?" "Tomorrow. Their ship is small, only about the size of this building, but their technology is very advanced. They can make materials that sing." Materials that sing, metals that carry music inside them, buildings that play melodies, machines that operate through harmony instead of electricity. Tai-Ho tried to imagine such things. His engineering mind was already racing with possibilities. What could humans and singers create together? What could all three species accomplish as partners? That evening, the workshop held its regular community gathering. Dragons, humans, and now soon-to-be singers, all learning from each other. The circle had grown much larger over the months. Families came from across the region to participate. Dr. Choi had finished her book about dragon culture and was now working on a second book about interspecies cooperation. "This is unprecedented," she often said. "We are witnessing the birth of a truly galactic community." Tonight, she had brought special news. "The Galactic Council has officially recognized our cooperative as a model for peaceful first contact," she announced. "They want to establish similar programs on 12 other worlds." The dragons made pleased rumbling sounds. The humans applauded. Even the children seemed to understand that this was important. "What does this mean for us?" Yuna asked. "It means our little experiment has become something much bigger," Dr. Choi replied. "It means hope." As the evening wound down, Tai-Ho found himself standing outside the workshop with Yuna, just as they had done 6 months ago. But now, instead of a small repair shop, they looked at a thriving community where impossible things happened every day. "My friend," Yun-Ah said, "do you remember what you thought when I first asked for leftovers?" Tai-Ho considered this. "I thought you were hungry and polite. I thought helping you was the right thing to do." "Did you imagine it would lead to all this?" Tai-Ho looked around at the workshop, where human and dragon children played together under the stars. He looked at the ships they had built together, the art they had created together, the families they had formed together. "No," he said honestly. "I thought I was just sharing some scrap metal with a neighbor. And now? Now I think I was helping to build the future." In the distance, they could see lights in the sky. The Singer ship was approaching, carrying new friends with new ideas and new possibilities. "Tomorrow will be interesting," Yuna observed. "Tomorrow is always interesting when you keep your heart open," Tai-Ho replied. A young dragon voice called from inside the workshop. "Papa! Mr. Tai-Ho, come see! We made the navigation computer sing a lullaby." Both friends turned toward the sound of laughter and music coming from their impossible, wonderful workshop. Coming. They called together and walked toward the light. In the end, Tai-Ho reflected, the greatest adventures really did begin with the smallest acts of kindness. One dragon asking politely for leftovers had changed the galaxy. And tomorrow, with the singers arriving, it would change again. That was fine with Tai-Ho. He had learned to love change, as long as it was change built on friendship, respect, and the simple recognition that all conscious beings deserved dignity and care. Besides, he thought with a smile, business was very good at the Human Dragon. Engineering cooperative. They had more work than they could handle, friends from across the galaxy, and the best scrap metal in the known universe. Life was good.